What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, and this is part 5 of my review of the Frank Zappa release, Apostrophe 50th Anniversary Deluxe Super Box Set Edition. So I've already done 4 other parts. The first disc, which was like Apostrophe plus goodies, 2 and 3, which was a live show from early 74, disc 4, which was the first half of a show from late 74. Now we're on the final disc, which is the remainder of the Dayton, Ohio show from November 20th. I believe the second to last show that Tom Fowler played before he broke his hand, and thus the second to last show, what I would argue is the greatest live band Frank ever had. Their second to last show before they got a new bass player. And then we got some goodies at the end, give or take, or with parentheses around the word goodies. Though two of them, are actually quite good goodies. So the remainder of the show, I would have to say, doesn't quite live up to the first half of the show, though there is one truly shining moment. There is a Don't Eat the Yellow Snow, which is appropriate because this is an Apostrophe release, so that kind of makes sense why this show was chosen, though who knows what else is in the vault. But we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ostensibly, 9 tracks to close out the Dayton, Ohio show. Opens up with the Dynamo Hum, and I would argue that if you're going to listen to a live Dynamo Hum, this is the band to listen to it to, just because of the rhythm section, just because of Chester back there, just keeping time. I love the fact that the song and this entire disc opens up with Frank saying, "Thank you, sports fans," which is just, an awesome Frank thing. It's kind of a very loose Dynamo Hum, a lot of joking around. At one point, Frank changes, didn't know where she's coming from. Something about, instead of saying the word come, he says the word squirt. So that when he gets to the next line and he doesn't have a rhyme, he just leaves it blank. Interesting. We get audience participation here. We get a lot of napkin references. So we get some conceptual continuity to pink napkins and black napkins and napkins from an album in the 80s. I'd prefer not to name. It's Dynamo Hum. There's audience participation. Did I say that? One guy reaches climax twice. Congratulations. That goes right into a Camarillo Brillo with the awesome Frank leading the intro on guitar. Really nice, heavy opening. Great Camarillo Brillo. This is another one. I think the 73 and 74 bands, anytime they dropped a Camarillo Brillo, that was probably a highlight of all Camarillo Brillos. There's a nice, way too short George Duke solo at the end. I wish Duke had been given more time to really stretch this out and jam. It's a really fun ending. And then we go into a Pygmy TWYLYTE. The summer fall 74 version of Pygmy TWYLYTE, I think, is one of the greatest songs Frank has. It's the slower version, it's the hard rockier version, it's the slightly proggier version. We only have 3 of them, the stage 2 version, the Token of His Extreme version, and now this. All 3 of them, I think, are essential. And they always have great guitar solos, but I would say that even if it didn't have a guitar solo, this version of the song is so good that it's still a must hear. This guitar solo is pretty interesting. It starts off really aggressive, as if Frank is just like, hey, let me get this off my chest. I got a lot of things I got to say. And he gets it off his chest in the course of like 45 seconds. Then he kind of calms things down a little, but then it's almost like he immediately gets worked up again because he remembers something else he has to say, and then he kind of calms down again. And it's got this really dynamic sort of like roller coaster ride kind of vibe. And this solo, and there's another solo at the end from a different show, one of the goodies at the end. I was trying to figure out how best to describe the way I think a lot of these fall 74 solos are, especially as we get towards the end of the tour. And they're really like roller coasters that have no purpose other than just to experience the ride. So like there might not be a theme, and might not be like what Disney World had, like the Aerosmith rock and roll coaster, right? Maybe there was some journey there, but it really is, you're just there for the ride. And the beautiful thing about, I think, a lot of fall 74 solos is it really sounds like Frank just wants to play guitar, and he loves the fact that Chester's on drums and Fowler's on bass and Duke's on keyboards, and we have these ups and downs, and we get quiet and then we get crazy, and then there doesn't seem to be any like plottable structure to any of the solos. It's just like, buckle your seatbelt and let's go for a ride. And sometimes it might be pleasant and slow, sometimes it might be crazy. But that's what this Pygmy TWYLYTE is. It just has these crazy up and downs over the course of like however long the solo is. Nowhere near, or for my taste, as good as that stage 2 solo. That stage 2 solo is a perfect solo. This maybe falls slightly short. At the end, when we finally go back into the end of the song, the dun-dun-dun, and we build it back up, it almost seems like, oh, we're here? Okay, I didn't expect that. But once they go back into the song, before the song concludes, there's a little hippie riff jam, that sort of needles and pins searchers thing, that dun-dun, that they play in Honey, Don't You Want a Man Like Me. I think they drop a version of it in Gregory Peccary, but it's that little DA chord thing, and they kind of jam on the hippie riff for a while, which is a nice little jam. Then they go into Room Service, but we don't get the actual Room Service skit between Frank and Napoleon that you can hear on Token, that you can hear on stage 2. Instead, they just play the musical part of Room Service with some secret word usage coming in: cotton, mohair, and sheep. And that would kind of recur a little bit again in the encore of Don't Eat the Yellow Snow. But it's nice. That Room Service part is fun. It's good energy, but we don't get the actual, room service a little bit. Then we go into Tush 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 to end the show, the little Tush 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 ending vamp. Then for an encore, we get Don't Eat the Yellow Snow. This is that 73, 74 arrangement with the really big sort of, once we start the song, these bigs like dun 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 dun, like inserted throughout the Don't Eat the Yellow Snow part, that I don't think adds to it. I like this. As far as Don't Eat the Yellow Snow goes, and to an extent Nanook Rubs It, I think the 78, 79 versions with Vinny on drums are the ideal versions. I like this version. I like this band. This is my favorite band. But the arrangement of Don't Eat the Yellow Snow is not necessarily my favorite. And I do think the Nanook Rubs It part, I think Vinny's drum play on that is just a little more interesting than Chester's. But I still love this version. The Nanook Rubs It. It's long. They're joking around. There's a lot of jokes at Ruth's expense. Not going to tell you all the jokes. You might need therapy after you listen to this. That's a reference to the song. I think there's more sheep in here. We got some wool. We got some dogs. Probably all Marty references. During the trudging across the tundra part. Say that 6 times fast. The band sounds like they're trudging, like really just these really heavy dramatic downbeats that are pretty cool. And then we go into a kind of surprisingly slow St. Alfonso's Pancake Breakfast. It just starts off and it's just like, oh, this kind of feels slow. Still great. That ending 40 seconds of that is just one of my favorite passages of music. Into a Father Oblivion, and then the show ends. Fantastic show. The first half I think is stronger. I'm gonna probably rank these discs later on. I'm still like, somebody posted a comment about how this is probably the best 74 show that's been released. And being that the Helsinki release, the volume 2, is not actually one show, it's compiled from a couple shows. It's weird to compare those two, but at this point, I would say this is. I don't even know where I would rank this. I'll get back to that later. But it's a great show, especially disc 4. I think disc 4 is better than this disc, but the Pygmy TWYLYTE kind of makes this essential because we only have 2 others, and to me that's a song you need to hear as many versions of as possible. Then we get to the bonus goodies. We get an Apostrophe TV ad. We get one of the most head-scratching things I think I've ever heard. The Don't Eat the Yellow Snow single edit, which is like 20 seconds of Don't Eat the Yellow Snow. The whole thing's like 3.5 minutes long. into the rest of it is Nanook. And then we get the intro to St. Alfonso's before it fades out. Some of the editing decisions I don't understand. It's like someone who didn't speak English or who was paying zero attention to the lyrics just made decisions based on the music, and so the story has a lot of plot holes in it. And so it is a very interesting edit. I don't know if it needed to be included, but it's here. Then we get a really awesome treat. Gutenberg, sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, GTR. It is a guitar solo from September, I believe, of this tour. It's a 74 fall solo. I want to say it's earlier in September. No, yeah, this one I think is in September, right around the Helsinki shows, maybe a couple days later. And it's a More Trouble Every Day solo. It's a 5+ minute More Trouble Every Day solo. I wonder if the entire More Trouble Every Day exists. It would have been kind of weird to have it start off without the Son of Orange County intro, but that's okay. You could have gotten rid of the Don't Eat the Yellow Snow single edit. I would have been okay with that. Maybe eliminate some other things on somewhere and just put the entire More Trouble Every Day song. But the solo is absolutely fantastic. It's kind of dirty. It's kind of gritty. It's kind of nasty. It's got that roller coaster vibe where you're not really sure what the purpose is. It doesn't have this volcano solo aspect. It's just Frank playing guitar and having a great time for 5+ minutes. It's absolutely fantastic. And at the very end, even like, it doesn't even sound like we're going back into the song, but at the end of the solo, Frank's not even reaching any sort of natural climax. He's just, the end of it is him like kind of tiptoeing around, like like getting all gentle. Sounds like he's going to like build back up to something. They probably go back into More Trouble at that point or go into something else. But it's a fantastic 5+ minute solo. Absolute treat. Are there more 74 shows in the vault? Can we just have like a 2-disc, $20 74 show release like the Dead do, like other bands do? It would be fantastic. King Gizzard's doing it like crazy. Just released like almost their entire recent tour, if not their entire recent tour. But instead, it goes into a shortened version of Approximate from Basil show in October 1st. Really good. There was, I have a copy. I'm sure it's still out there somewhere. Soundboard copy or a really clean audience version of this show circulating out there. And it's just part of Approximate with this crazy, almost like it's a full band jam, but it's Duke and Fowler on bass just leading the charge. Absolutely fantastic. And then we get bits of Approximate, the actual song. And then the last track is this thing called ... the Poodle Bites ... It's a sort of tape manipulated, tweaked version of the end of Stinkfoot. And then at the end, Frank says something along the lines of, nobody thought I would ever make a song like this, or people said I was crazy to make a song about this, or he has the last word, and then the track just ends. Really good disc. I mean, it's a necessary disc. You need the latter half of that Dayton, Ohio show. It's fun. Dynamo Hum, this is the version you should hear if you're going to listen to it. It's from this band. The Camarillo Brillo sounds great. Pygmy Twilight's a must hear. And the Don't Eat the Yellow Snow. It's an awesome Don't Eat the Yellow Snow. I think the 78, 79 versions are just better. I just think there is something about the sleekness of that band that lends itself well to this song. And it doesn't, and where maybe for some reason the Fall 74 band doesn't quite have the same kind of sleekness. Their sort of flex and dexterity works better for different songs. It's never been one of my favorite song selections from this band, but you got to put a live Don't Eat the Yellow Snow on an Apostrophe 50th anniversary release, so it 100% makes sense. And that Gutenberg GTR, fantastic, must hear, excellent inclusion. So yeah, solid 5th disc, some interesting things at the end, closes out a fantastic show. But yeah, overall, great release. Don't need the original remastered Apostrophe. I thought it sounded good to begin with, but the 2 live shows are amazing. Gonna revisit those a lot. Going in the rotation. They're fantastic. And if you like live Frank Zappa, or if you like Zappa and you haven't heard live 74 stuff, you got to check this stuff out because it's really good. But yeah, that's it. Those are my thoughts on disc 5. Yeah, really good stuff. More live 74 stuff, please. More fall 74 stuff. Give me a box set. Do what the Dead do. They just released what? Friends of the Devil, a whole bunch of 78 shows. Give us what would be an aptly named November 74 box set of November 74 shows. If they exist, if they're in the vault, would be mind-blowing stuff. Mind-blowing stuff. All right, I'm done. Let me know your thoughts on this. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Do those things you do. And go check this out and listen to it because it's good. All right, thanks for watching. Peace. Talk to you later.